I'm really actually curious about this one. Like, this guy has a really cool YouTube channel. um, Not a lot of people actually know about him either. Only 69,000 followers, subscribers. Um, but like every week he does like an update, like talking about like current economic stuff, and it's kind of cool. So let's see what it's like today. I'm not a member of his channel. Maybe someday we'll be. Yeah, once we have once they fix the economic update.
2026. First, we're going to go through some monetary policy changes, our GDP, inflation, jobs, some layoffs, that sort of thing, and what am I doing about all
Classic,
this? For
classic.
the monetary policy, on January 28th, the Federal Open Market Committee by the Fed, basically they've decided to hold the federal interest rate, overnight rate, effectively, at 3.5 to
For a while, right?
3.75%, so no change here. That's going to impact short-term interest rates, but not necessarily anything with the long-term interest rates, like the 10-year bond as well as the 30-year mortgage. That's more
Interesting.
determined by just the free market, unless the Fed starts buying up long-term bonds. Right now, they're basically going through, since December 12th, they have reserve management purchases.
Reserve
Uh,
management
this is
purchases.
basically saying that, hey, I'm not eating, I'm just having a snack. RMP is not quantitative easing, but if it continues, I'm going to say it's quantitative easing. They're
Right.
not calling it that because they don't want people to
That is them buying back the things, though, right? I think that's what that means.
panic. Do realize that if you pump a bunch of money into a system, the money that's existing becomes
Less
less and less
valuable.
valuable. That's why I like holding assets more than I like holding cash, because when you have inflation, the cost of everything goes up, incomes go up, but also assets tend to rise faster than anything else. So
Right.
if you've noticed that houses have gone up in price over the last 5, 6 years, or that the stock market has gone up, that's
A lot.
basically why we've had a lot of inflation as well. If
Huh.
we pump a bunch of money
Well,
into the system,
okay. See, right there, that's what I really like about this guy. The way he explained it was just so clear. That's why the stock market's flying to insane heights and why houses are so expensive. That makes a lot of sense because of inflation. Is their assets? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just not very smart, but like, that makes a lot of sense. This guy's great.
it takes about 12 to 18 months to really see that. If you remember in
Wow.
2020, the Fed pushed a bunch of money into the system, stock market rallied, there were stimulus checks, all of that sort of thing. Asset prices rise very rapidly. And what you saw is like a year or so later, you started to see inflation creep up very high. So then they increased interest rates, pulled money out of the system, which they did until 2025 when they ended quantitative tightening.
Oh, interesting.
And so up until 2022, you saw the stock market go up. And then while they were increasing interest rates, stock market went down for a while, and then it started going back up when they stabilized. So I will say that inflation will probably pick up again in about maybe 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
Wages tend to lag behind. Uh, it's just normal. So the Fed said that the economic activity is expanding at a solid pace. There is elevated uncertainty. Job gains have remained low, so low that it's the lowest since 2010.
Whoa, wait, that's
And they're
crazy.
saying the unemployment rate is at least stabilizing at the moment. It's still up year over year,
Hmm.
but they think it's stabilizing at the moment. And they have a concern that inflation is still remaining elevated. We'll go through those in a bit more detail. On January 5th, the Fed Beige Book came out. This comes out every 3 months.
Beige
They
book.
said there's slight to modest growth in consumer spending, so that's
Okay.
good. However, the
This is rich
low to
people, right?
moderate income group has more price
Yeah.
sensitivity, and they're hesitant to buy anything that they absolutely don't need.
Mm-hmm.
However, higher income individuals have increased their spending. The banking sector is considered stable at the moment, but they are seeing an increase in credit card use, about
I wonder
$8
why.
billion a month from what I'm seeing,
8
and
billion?
increase in
See, I have no like relative understanding of that, but like that seems like a lot. I'm sure that's across every single person, business, and entity across the entire United States. That's a lot though. 8 billion in a month?
home equity loans and consumer lending. I have a bit
Ooh.
of concern with the credit card use and home equity loans because if people are struggling to make ends meet, they might put more of that onto a credit card
Yeah.
or they might pull out a home equity line of credit. and that way they have money for today,
Mm-hmm.
but they're borrowing at higher interest rates, and at some point they're going to have to repay that, and it just makes the problem go down the road a little further,
Mm-hmm.
and then the crash gets even
But what
worse.
can you
For
do?
the labor market, they're seeing an increased use of temporary workers to backfill positions. They're not
Oh.
adding additional new jobs, but as people leave, they're trying to not hire permanent roles, they're hiring temporary workers instead.
Hmm.
And they were saying that this is in order to stay flexible with the uncertainty. For
Interesting.
prices,
I don't know
there's
about that
moderate
one.
growth in prices. What they're finding is that a lot of the things that have been ordered, say, first quarter of 2025, before a lot of the tariffs went into place, those inventories are becoming depleted at the moment, and they're now starting to pass on more of those tariff costs. For economic growth,
Makes
it's
sense.
measured by gross domestic product. First
GDP.
quarter 2025, we were at minus
Rep.
0.5%. We've seen this vary throughout the year a little bit. Second quarter was very
Boom.
strong growth of 3.8%.
That's big.
Third quarter of 2025
That's
is at
crazy.
4.4%. This is the highest it's been in 2 years.
Wow.
And fourth quarter of 2025 is estimated at 4.2%. I do
But
want to note that first quarter 2025 is before the tariffs went into effect, and a lot of companies were trying to import more goods before they had to pay higher prices. So if you look at GDP, you have GDP is equal to
yeah.
consumer spending, investment, government spending, and then you add the net of the exports and imports. So you take the exports minus the imports. So if
Wow.
you expect tariffs,
See, this is why I like this. He doesn't like he has these numbers, right? But I'm not an economist. Like I know, probably like a lot of you guys aren't either. But he actually explains the formula, and he's explaining why that one is so low because everybody was buying everything because imports are the things they're buying for, and now it's low because or now the GP's high because they're not importing anything.
go into place,
Crazy.
you would buy a lot more of them just before that, so you save yourself some money, and that would give you a higher, basically imports, which then would drag down GDP, making it negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you that right here. You can see it's actually imports took a huge negative in first quarter here.
There you go.
In third quarter of 2025, as you would expect, a lot less things are being imported. So if you did that, you would see that because there's less imports, like the change in imports is now negative. So negative and negative is positive. So now you have a positive impact for GDP growth.
Wow.
So it's something interesting, just that's how the equation works out.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of inflation, on January 13th, we had our consumer price index,
CPI.
2.7%, and our CPI core, that's minus food and energy, 2.6%. These are unchanged from November to December.
Okay.
January 22nd, we had our personal consumption expenditures at 2.8%, and our PCE core minus food and energy, 2.8% as well. This is up slightly. It's been bouncing around about the same number.
Mm-hmm.
On January 14th, we got our producers price index. This
PPI.
is basically the people that are making the things that you buy, what they're spending before you get it.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you see this go up, generally you'll start seeing CPI and PCE follow whatever
That's
PPI is. So if they're now spending 3% here, and then they have their core minus food and energy at 3.5%, it wouldn't be surprising to me to see CPI,
Right, because they have to raise the prices.
PCE go up in the near future.
Cool.
Again, this is from November for these two and December for this one.
I didn't know that that PPI number at all. That's awesome. I had like a little like side business thing I was doing, and I guess because like I was producing something, like creating something out of stuff, I had to buy stuff for it, and so like that means my prices would have been 0.5% higher. That's crazy. And then, because my price is more expensive, and I have to make the product more expensive, which makes it more expensive for them to buy my stuff. That's neat. I wouldn't have known that otherwise.
Reason being is we've had a U.S. shutdown between October and November, so it delays some of that data. They're starting to catch up. Do note that the Fed has a dual mandate, and that is to keep stable prices. So they're trying to keep a 2% inflation target.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, we're above 2%.
Yeah.
And we want to keep maximum employment. So you shouldn't see unemployment going up. You shouldn't see increasing job claims and that sort of thing. Not really in the greatest spot at the moment.
Yeah.
For jobs, January 9th, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics came out with we've added 50,000 jobs in December.
That's good, right?
56,000 jobs in November. and we lost 173,000
Ow.
jobs in October.
That's crazy.
And these were revised down by 8,000 and 68,000 jobs from what they initially reported. The unemployment rate stands at 4.4%.
Wait, okay. So 173 down, which means originally was 110 something? Or is it now? Or is it down the other way as in up? I'm not sure about that one.
And there's approximately 7.5 million people looking for jobs that have not yet found
That's
a job.
a lot, isn't it?
Year over year, there's an additional 397 people without jobs, and the 27 plus week number comes out to 26%, or 1 in 4 people that go on unemployment are unemployed, and they've been there for more than 6 months.
Wow.
For year over year, we've gone up by 980,000 people that are working part-time due to economic reasons. They're looking for full-time, but they haven't been able to secure that position. Looking at an independent source of job numbers, on January 7th, ADP came out and said the U.S. added approximately 41,000 jobs in December, which is not that far off of the 50,000 jobs that the BLS says. So we are finding that these are constantly being revised down here and here. So if this was revised down by a couple of thousand, it would be even closer. On January 8th, there was a report that came out by the Challenger Gray and Christmas report. Basically, we've had the lowest hiring since 2010.
Wow.
And we had about 1.2 million layoffs in 2025. This is only...
That's insane. 1.2 million layoffs? I'm glad I wasn't, but could you imagine? And then you can't even, like, imagine you get laid off and then now you're stuck with a part-time job.
Less than 2001, 2002, 2003, which was the dot-com bubble burst.
Wow.
And then 2008, 2009, which was the Great Recession, and 2020, which was the
That's
pandemic.
awful.
As of January 30th, there were layoffs announced at many U.S. companies.
Yeah.
UPS is laying off an additional 30,000 employees. They just laid off 48,000 employees last year, which comes out to 78,000.
Amazon did a bunch too, right?
Amazon is laying off an additional 16,000 people.
Wow.
Last year they've laid off 14,000. So that's now a total of 30,000 people that they've laid off in the past 2 years. Dow Chemical is laying off 4,500.
I don't know what that is, but wow.
Depot's laying off 800 people. Nike's laying off an additional 775 people.
Sheesh.
They've laid off people each year for the last 3 years. Meta is laying off an additional 1,500 employees. So there's a bunch more companies, but
yeah,
as you get the point, there's a significant number of
it's probably going to continue too, right?
In the first month so far.
I spy on my
rip ads, man.
I'm
sorry. I don't have a ad blocker because I feel bad about blocking ads. You know what I mean? Because it's like that is some of the YouTubers' money, right? And well, I don't know. I don't want to pay for premium because I'm, I don't have that kind of money. Yeah. Wait, okay. But what's cool about like all this is like the way he explains like this graph. Like he doesn't just like have the data on his whiteboard, but he actually has like graphs and stuff, and it's like, he actually updates them and stuff, and it's really cool.
Offs in the first month
Look at that.
so far. January 7th, we had our JOLTS report. We're finding that there are 7.1 million jobs that are open, but do note, you have 7.1 million jobs here, and you have 7.5 million people looking for a job that don't have a job.
Yeah, that's not good.
You're around 1.1 people that are unemployed looking for a job for every open and available job.
Right. But also, like, all those unemployed people probably, like, have, say you were laid off at Amazon or something, you have some, like, technical skills. Like, if there's an opening at McDonald's, you're not going to go get that one, probably, unless, it's really bad. You know what I mean? So, like, that means you don't even have the skills to match. And then, like I don't know, see, it's like healthcare jobs or stuff, too. Like, you have to go through all bunch of school to get that. So, like, those people couldn't even fill everything either. Wow.
So even if every job was filled, you'd still have about
especially
400,000 people without a job. Year over year, we're noting that there are 885,000 less jobs available today than were available a year ago.
That's not great.
So with all of this information, what am I doing? Because it looks a little scary out there.
does.
If you've watched the videos before, it doesn't really change that
I
much.
have, that's true.
And that's a good thing. You don't want to have to watch something and change what you're doing every single day. It doesn't turn out too well
Right.
in the long run. You want to have at least 6 months of an emergency fund in high yield
That's a lot of money.
or CDs or something that is...
I mean, come on, 6 months. Like, that would be like, you know, your rent or your mortgage plus food plus like, that's like at least, like, I don't know, at the very least $6,000. Not even. Like $1,500 a month. It's like $9,000 at least. Yeah, how long it takes you, like, I don't know, assuming you have like some small little job, it's gonna take you years to save that up. That's what's always insane about the 6 month thing. Like, you know, I understand it's important to have it, but like saving up for that's tough.
Easy to access. If you do put it in CDs, put it in multiple CDs so you don't have to break them all at the same time.
Break up.
And pay a penalty on it. And these should be FDIC so that they're insured to some degree.
Can you even buy private ones? Who's gonna buy a private certificate of deposit or high yield savings account? Don't use fishy banks, right?
Why am I saying 6 months? Well, if you note, 1 out of 4 people that...
Okay, hold on. Actually, I'm curious. I don't know why 6 months. Like, I've seen a bunch of different, like, people, like, and, you know, financial advice channels and stuff always say 6 months, but I don't know why, actually. It's just like, I always thought it was just like a good number to have, you know, like 6 months. You know, you should be able to get yourself certified by then, but let's see.
Why am I saying 6 months? Well, if you note, 1 out of 4 people that have lost their job have not found a new job in 6 months or more. So that's really where this is coming from. So if you're one of those people,
okay, that makes
trust
sense.
me, you'll be thankful if you've saved enough money to get by. Yeah. And look, I started off broke. I understand that's a lot of money to save up.
See, this guy understands, dude. That's what I like about this guy's channel.
So if somebody has $100, it's better than 0. 1,000 is better than 100.
There you go.
10,000 is better than 1,000. But it's basically a safety blanket. If something happens, instead of having all-out panic and like losing a house or something like that, you can weather the storm, and you can wait to find something that you enjoy doing at least.
This guy's so real.
For any money that I need, say, in the next 5 years, I would still put that in high-yield savings or CDs. What do I mean by money I need in the next 5 years? If I'm approaching retirement, I'm buying a house, I'm getting ready to buy a car, that money really does not belong in the stock market or things like that.
Oh, yeah.
There could be high
You're gonna lose it.
and it can lose value. For any money I don't need for at least 5 years,
what is it,
dollar
DCA?
cost averaging every time I get paid, 70-80% of the S&P 500, about 10 to 20% in the total international stock fund, and about 0 to 10% into bonds. I am picking up about 10% bonds at the moment. The reason I'm buying up bonds at the moment is we're at an inflection point. We're no longer quantitative tightening. We're not yet quantitative easing, but we have reserve management purchases to maintain liquidity.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
Fancy language to say, hey, we're buying up 0 to 3 year bonds to make sure there's money in, you know, the system for the government. And if the Fed starts buying up, say, 10, 20-year bonds,
then the price goes
up. It's going to drive down the interest rate paid on the bonds, but it's going to drive up the existing bond value.
Right, okay.
So if I hold the bond through that period of time and sell it on the open market, that's where I make money. I'm not planning to just hold the bond
that's neat.
until its maturity. The next two, I have a very small percentage. This is not a main contributor. I have 0.1% in like the SPY put option for June of 2026. And if the S&P 500 goes down below my strike price, effectively I make money. I can sell it off and buy more stock, or I could sell off my stocks at a guaranteed price. So that's an insurance policy. And then I have about 0.1% in TLT. This is 20-year
TLT
bonds. So like I said, if we really start ramping up quantitative easing over the next year, this would go up in value, and that's for January of 2027. I also hold a lot of various metals. Here's aluminum, silver, copper, gold, that sort of thing.
Literally, he has it. Isn't it cool?
Things like that. So I have about 200,000 there, and I am holding.
PB? What is PB? Is that brass? Plutonium? What is PB? Hold on. I'm curious. What is PB? Chemistry. Lead? Bro has lead? Huh. That's interesting. I guess you could just buy it and have it. Yeah. Neat.
Holding, I am not buying. And people were like, why aren't you buying? Why aren't you buying? So if you watch the video,
Because the price is
that I
going up,
had
and
on
at some point it'll
gold,
drop, right?
silver, and other precious metals,
It's getting flown
and
up.
I warned people that in the past we would see huge run-ups. Maybe it's like 300, 700, 1,000%, and then you would see significant drops of 80% or so.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've seen in the past week is gold has dropped 10% from its high, and silver has
That's
now
why you don't buy.
dropped 30%.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm holding. I'm not buying this at the moment. And the last time I sold this when it was about $40 an ounce back in about 2011, and then I would buy most of this stuff back up by the pounds when it was $15 to $20 an ounce.
Man, he's
And
rich.
then it's just recently hit $120 an ounce and then came back down to $85 an ounce roughly. So we're seeing a pullback of about 30%. I think a lot of people had fear of missing out. Whenever you see something that's parabolic where it just goes straight up, I try to stay away from that.
Yeah.
Generally, what goes up that quickly tends to come back down.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I have a lot of content on the channel aimed to help you learn how to make more money, how to save money, especially on taxes, and it is tax season, as well as how to start businesses, become an entrepreneur, and how to invest. If any of that interests you, please subscribe.
This guy's cool.
Thank you for joining. Have a great day.
Thanks, man. Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm sorry. I don't. It's okay. Cool. Good video. Good economic update. Let's look through some comments. Love to see you in clear value tax. I don't know what that is. Do a video. No nonsense, straightforward. Yeah. Yeah, this guy's great. I'm not subscribed. I probably should. There we go. Work my way up. Complaining about his degree.